that specific team because it's an
Sure.
emotional response. Because if you're a fan of that
Yeah.
specific team, it's what do you mean? We've been cheering for this guy for the last few years, and now he wants to leave. It's almost like a breakup, right? And so there's
Yep.
that kind of emotional response and that negativity there. When I think if you step back, you have to realize, like, as much as like Philly fans are going to boo Ben Simmons because he's got 4 years of the contract and all that kind of stuff, as much as Anthony Davis gets booed whenever he goes to New Orleans, again, the worst thing that could have happened is these guys walk for nothing. Them saying, hey, I need to go. And again, the Ben Simmons thing, maybe we should set that aside because he's got 4 years of the contract. That changes things. The guys who have a year left and they go to the franchise ahead of time and they say, listen, I'm not planning on staying, just to be upfront about everything, and I'm gonna leave next off season. So if you guys want to try and get something for me, go for it. I'm open to that. I don't have a
Yep.
problem with that type of situation. I understand that's going to be biased because the Lakers got Anthony Davis and I cover the Lakers and everything. But again, the alternative is the guy keeps his mouth shut and just strings the team along and then walks in free agency and the team is worse off for it. So I think this is much,
Sure.
much better. Again, it's just that hurdle from the fan perspective. And, fans are fanatics for a reason, right? But that emotional reaction, I think, sometimes clouds the truth here in that the team is best off when the superstar player does ask for a trade, even if it hurts people's feelings.
Yeah, and I have two general thoughts on this. I think the NBA, maybe more than any other professional sport, has a fairly large fan base that is fans of players
Yeah,
versus
that's true.
teams. So they'll root for whatever team LeBron is on. Right? I personally know people who were Cavs fans, Heat fans, Cavs fans again, and they're now Lakers
Yep.
fans because they love LeBron. There's a lot of people I think that are like that. So I don't know that the NBA dislikes that, right? Because as long as you're watching and you're buying jerseys and shirts and everything else, it all counts
Mm-hmm.
the same in their minds. Now, on the flip side, sometimes I think we get a little too sky is falling, oh no, this is all horrible. Because I feel like for every guy who pulls a I want out,
Mm-hmm.
we have another guy who stays and stays for great
Yeah.
success. Giannis, for example, stayed. They won a championship. Now he's under contract. Damian Lillard, and people can comment saying, well, we don't even know if he's going to stay. Well, he's already
He
stayed
stayed for a
for a
long time.
decade. Like, yeah, and I have no issue with the guy if he's got 4 years left, 3 years left, whatever Dame will have left whenever he
Mm-hmm.
finally, assuming he does say the words I want to trade. I don't have any issue because he's already done the best. He gave you the best years of his career
Mm-hmm.
trying to win there. So, but again, he stayed a long time. Bradley Beal has stayed a long time. It's the guy who, like Simmons, where you're a year into your second contract, where it gets a little rough. Now, that's a weird situation because
Yes.
he kind of crapped all over him, and
It's fairly
it
unique.
just that one's very different. But yeah, those are we don't usually see that a year or two in. It's usually when you've got a year or two left is when a guy will start chirping a little bit on that second contract. But generally, I tend to kind of agree with the player because it's not like, you know what, we've won 3 championships in the last 4 years, and I'm just not happy here with my max deal and competing for titles all the time. The next guy who does that's going to be the first guy who does that. It's usually the guy who's second, third, fourth on the team that will be like, I want to know if I can do it. Like, can I lead my own team or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's where kind of came out of with Kyrie, right? Where it was, hey, I want my own team. I want to, go somewhere else, and I don't want to be here in LA anymore. So that's where I think I struggle with. I don't want to get too deep into this is this massive problem and it sucks and it's got to be fixed. Maybe you do something as far as if you sign one of those designated deals, which were put in solely with the idea of keeping guys home. Maybe you do put a 2-year trade restriction on it, so you can't have a thing team or player wise where a year in it's like this just doesn't work. But I don't know that either teams or the players side wants that because what if it's just not working or the guy gets hurt and you want to move on? Like the idea of limiting player movement has always been something that the Players Association has fought for, and I think the NBA teams and the league as a whole have come around to more and more over the last couple of years as far as yeah, this isn't a bad thing. Player movement isn't bad because again, people care, right, wrong, or indifferent. People care about this league more in the off season and the trades and all that other stuff to a large extent more than they do in the regular season, and to some extent more than they do even in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean that's true, and that's there's I can't from seeing the numbers myself across whether it's Lakers Nation, whether it's here on our show. Yeah, look, the off season that's our best time, right? When we get all of the trade stuff going on, all the stuff to break down in free agency and all of that, and the NBA sees that, and they know that, and fans are excited about that. I think the only issue is just the optics of it, where people see like, hey, when this guy's trying to leave our city, he's trying to leave our team. Well, then we don't like him, and you're going to get all this. We're going to burn his jersey now, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just the optics of it that's really the problem here, right? I mean, that's the issue, and like you said, it might not even be that big of an issue. Like having these debates, the NBA might be perfectly okay with that. Just like they don't really define exactly what an all-star is or define what an MVP is, because they want people to have these debates and have this discussion.
Exactly.
So I agree. I don't think the NBA is gonna change much about this situation. Now again, the Ben Simmons thing might be a little bit different. Maybe that thing gets so ridiculous and the 76ers just sit him out, and okay, maybe there's a point where they like step in there and that gets to be a big problem. We're not there yet though. We're not there yet.
Sure.
But in general,
Yeah.
I don't think the NBA is going to see this as a big problem around the league.
Yep. Yeah, I will say a couple other things just to add a little context here. These notes are all from Bobby Marks of ESPN. Out of 33 All-Stars from the 2020 and 2021 All-Star groups, only 5 have switched teams via free agency. So that's the last 2 years of free agency. So that's very few.
Yeah.
26 All-Stars from the past 2 years are under contract through at least the 2023-24 season. So again, that leads to these long-term deals and these extensions. 40 veteran extensions under the current CBA, including 11 this offseason, compared to in the entire life of the prior CBA, which was the 2011 CBA, which lasted 6 years, 15 extensions. So just to give a little numbers behind what we were just talking about, these are things that are going to be around now, and it's probably not going to change anytime soon. We'll see if the cap spike changes things, and if there is a cap spike or just even the cap going up. Well, what does that always look like?
I think you're right, and I'm really curious.
See you later, not having Wi-Fi when you want it. Hello to a phone plan with a full speed hotspot tethering. Hello Google Fi. A phone plan that can.
Let me ask you this. Are you a serious trader looking for a platform to match your skills and capital? And no, I'm not talking about the weekend newbies who place the occasional trades according to their crazy uncle's latest trading tips, which never work out. No. I'm talking about serious traders. Listen up. You're probably using the wrong trading platform. You can't just trust any trading platform with your capital. Trading is already tough as nails. You need support. That's why we created Tradier Brokerage, a broker-dealer platform for traders. With Tradier Brokerage, you truly get unlimited commission-free equity and options trading for only $10 a month. If you trade 1,000 option contracts in a year, that's only $120, compared to our competitors that charge per trade, which will cost you $650. Unlimited commission-free trading, a powerful dashboard, and fully custom
NBA front office viewers / listeners, what do you guys think about this situation? Give us your take. This is a fun topic. So give us your take in the comments section down below. If you're over here on the NBA front office YouTube channel, if you're listening to the podcast version of it, put it in a review. Give us your thoughts on this topic about stars opting to be traded, signing their contracts, and then asking for trades later rather than hitting free agency, which is what we saw under the previous CBA. Give us your take in the comment section. I'm really curious to see exactly how fans see this issue. But Keith, let's move into a rapid fire round here. A few minor moves around the NBA.
That's the Ben Simmons alert.
Uh-oh.
Do you like it?
I like it.
Ben Simmons alert. Let's do that first.
Okay.
We'll make this very quick. Doc Rivers was on First Take today.
Okay.
with Stephen A. Smith, and he basically said a lot of stuff that is maybe doesn't ring exactly true.
I didn't know you were gonna do that siren thing. I thought they were on to you, man. I thought they were coming to get you or something.
That was good, right?
That was pretty
Slid
good.
that in there.
I was not expecting
Maybe
that.
We'll bring that back as the breaking news alert. Or
I
something
like it.
that. So here were some of the snippets of Rivers' time. Philly's not giving up on Ben Simmons. He did confirm Simmons has told 76ers front office leaders as well as Doc he doesn't want to be there anymore. Doc still said we would love to get Ben back. We want him back. Doc then said this is the one where this one doesn't exactly ring super true, but his post-game 7 remarks on Simmons were misrepresented. You said it, my man. We all saw the video.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. He said Simmons' biggest issue remains his free throw shooting. Philadelphia has hired both a free throw coach and a shooting coach to help.
Did they not do that before? Did you not have a shooting coach the last few years, or
Yeah.
what?
Then Stephen A. finished it with, how much pressure do you feel to get things right with Ben Simmons to get him back? And Doc chuckled, paused, and said, let's say I slept well last night. And then he went on to, we're in camp now, we have a chance to get back at it, blah, 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 blah. So,
Okay.
there it is. That's there's your Ben Simmons update. Nothing from Simmons' side, of course, at this point, but it is, yeah.
Walking things back just a little bit there, or attempting to. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, it's yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Let's move into some transactions.
rapid fire round here. Keith, your Celtics, massive move. Theo Pinson, come on down.
18, hang it now. We can just go straight to the next offseason. No, hey, it's a camp deal. Pinson was with the Nets the last 3 years, 2 years with the Nets, 1 year with the Knicks. He is starting to get the profile of what I call a 4A guy. That's a baseball term for a guy who's too good for AAA but doesn't cut it in the majors. Pinson is excellent in the G League and not so great in the NBA. But another camp body, bring him in. He still has 1 year of 2A eligibility left, as well as, or he has more, but Jawan Morgan, who they also signed earlier in the offseason, has 2A eligibility. They only have one 2A spot filled. So my guess is they're going to kind of host a little bit of an open competition for the last 2A spot because they don't have a standard roster spot for a guy right now. So camp deal, nothing more, but you could do worse. He's also similarly sized to Jaylen Brown, and Jaylen Brown, although he said he will be ready for the start of training camp, they're not going to push him very hard.
Should they?
Through the preseason. Yeah, and that's assuming he even is cleared to go. We'll get clarity on that either later this week or beginning of next week at media day, I assume. But yeah, it'll be just moving along here with Pinson. It's just a camp deal. Likely next place we see him play is for the main Celtics in the G League.
Jason Randall joins the Suns. The other
Yeah.
Randall.
Yep, Chase. Yeah, another Randall, another point guard for the Suns. They've done well with these point guard reclamation projects, so maybe this will be one. My guess is probably not. Likely will not make the team, but Jason Randall was actually kind of a godsend for the Orlando Magic last year in a period of time where it was I was starting to run a couple laps around the neighborhood, get my sneakers
You're getting ready.
So they might have needed a point guard. It got a little rough there for the Magic at the end of the last year, but Randall came in and did the best he could as a guy for the Magic down the stretch running the offense.
The Bulls pick up options for Kobe White and Patrick Williams. No surprise there. I mean, that was pretty much no-brainer.
Yep.
They would do that.
And let's be clear on those options. Those are 22-23 options. Those rookie scale team options have to be picked up a year in advance. The deadline is October 31st, so you could technically get about a 2-week look at the guys in the regular season. But if they need that at this point, I question you're probably not in a very good place evaluating your talent. But they become players 2 and 3. Tyler Hero was the first player to have his rookie scale option picked up. We're going to see a lot more of these over the next month as teams get these done. Generally, they tend to happen a little bit later from now, but when it's a no-brainer like it is for White Williams, you just get it done.
For the no-brainer guys too, like you're creating a problem for yourself if you don't just
Yeah.
pick it up immediately. Because
Yeah.
then the player's
Yeah,
like,
just pick it
"Wait,
up
what do you
now."
mean? What's going on? Why would you not just have I not proven? You know, you create a problem. So no reason not to just do that right now. The Dante Exum contract, Keith, had a little bit of weirdness to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
let's
it did.
get into that.
Think premium can't be capable? Think again. Introducing the first ever AT4 lineup. Premium.
Yeah, so Exum's deal, it has heavily is bonus related. So his base salary for this season is only 2.5 million,
Okay.
but his cap hit is going to be 5 million because he's got 2.5 million in likely incentives on that, and then he's got another 375,000 in unlikely in unlikely incentives. That was a tongue twister. But he is, so what they did here was I have not yet seen exactly what these incentives are. They've got to be tied to something that happened the previous season, because how these work is for an incentive to be likely, it had to have happened the prior year. For it to be unlikely, it didn't happen. Right. That's as simple as it is. So if it is 50% from the field, if you shot 49%, it's unlikely. If you shot 50% even, it becomes likely. My guess is this is probably something really silly, like 5 games played,
Yeah.
or something like that. Essentially, what they did was they turned Dante Exum's contract for 21-22 into basically a $5 million walking trade exemption. Because what you're set up here is the final 2 years of his deal, similar structure with just slightly less in the incentive side, are fully non-guaranteed. So this tells me this is set up to, hey, if you play really well, and you fit in with our guys here in Houston, we'll see that's kind of a crowded backcourt now, but if it works, we got you on a really great team-friendly deal and worth the road. If it doesn't work, we've got $5 million in matching salary to throw into a trade and go get somebody who fits a little bit better, or pick up picks or something like that. For what it's worth, Exum looked pretty good with Team Australia last season after going through a lot of injuries over the past couple of years, with both Utah and then with Cleveland and then with Houston. He never actually played for Houston last year following that trade. So yeah, but just an interesting type of deal here. In case anybody's wondering, it counts as $5 million in the trade. Machines, if you're out there playing with those, has been a topic of discussion today. And then Frank Ntilikina, who signed on with the Dallas Mavericks, got a 2-year minimum deal. And interesting note there, if you remember, on the 2 years, we learned with Marc Gasol, if you didn't know already, it bumps up to the actual minimum versus the 2-year minimum. So 2 years of service minimum, I should say. So he's going to get 1.8 million next year, and then 2 million the year after, but the year after fully non-guaranteed for Ntilikina. So the Mavericks are kind of taking a 1-year flyer on Ntilikina. What's interesting though is they've now got 16 fully guaranteed contracts, so they're going to have to eat a deal somewhere along the line. I'm sorry, 15, but Moses Brown is 500K guaranteed. So we'll see, do they move on from him? Do they move on from Trey Burke, Tyrell Terry? What happens there? It's probably, my guess is one of those 3 guys. I think Ntilikina, barring a disaster in training camp, will make this team. And then the last contracting note I wanted to hit on, another point guard, Kevin Pangos, who came over from overseas with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He signed a 2-year contract, but he came out of the non-taxpayer mid-level for the Cavs. Because what they did was they gave him a bump to the 2-year veteran minimum in his first year. So he's an NBA rookie, despite the fact that he's been playing professionally for several years overseas. But my guess was to incent him to come over, they gave him that bump up. So they gave him a bump up there, so he's got about 1.7 this year. Then he's got 1.75, 1.75 next year. But that, like Ntilikina and like Exum, is fully non-guaranteed as well for Kevin Pangos. So we're seeing teams get a little creative. I put this out on my Twitter if anybody wants to look at it. Very few veteran players that didn't have overseas experience, undrafted players, I should say, not veteran players. Very few undrafted players outside of Pangos and then Ishmael Wainwright of the Raptors got any guaranteed money this offseason. That's pretty uncommon. Usually guys will get somewhere between 10 and 50K with the idea of let's give them that money and then get them to our G League team, and then that kind of incents them to play there. But yeah, it is in a little bit of a different situation there with those guys. So just a sign of the times, maybe. Teams still being a little cautious with handing money around. Oddly enough, Toronto did play at home all of last year.
Well, we'll see how that works out for the Raptors. Again, they're hoping that once they get actually back into Toronto, that's going to help them. I have a feeling that will help quite a bit. But a lot to get
one
into.
last one.
Oh, there's more.
Justin James, who's with the Sacramento Kings. This one just came just while we were recording, so maybe I could have used the breaking news.
That was a chance.
He has signed a two-way contract with the Utah Jazz. They were one of the teams that had open two-way. So Justin James, who'd been with the Kings for a couple of years and looked kind of okay at various points at the end of seasons when Sacramento didn't have a lot to play for. But he is signing on with the Utah Jazz in the two-way. So that's it. We are all caught up on transactions.
That's all the transactions at this point. There will be more. There will be more. Training camp just a few days away, so there's going to be more stuff going on. Make sure you guys do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you're listening to podcasts. Don't forget to ring the notification bell. And of course, like this video. Until next time, everybody, stay safe and see you.
According to reports, LeBron has planned a 3-day players-only minicamp in Las Vegas ahead of the Lakers training camp that begins next week. The King did something similar 2 years ago when he led the purple and gold to a title first year. Anthony Davis joined the team. So Shannon, does this mean LeBron's Lakers will win it all again this year?
No, there's nothing you can do in pro sports to guarantee you an opportunity that you're going to win it all. All you can do is try to put yourself in the best situation to give you the best chance to win. I think, Skip...
You don't love this?
No, I love it. I love it. But it doesn't... Jenny said it doesn't guarantee.
Oh.
No, it does not guarantee.
Okay.
All it does is...
He bubbled it, right? Did he not go bubble-licious off going to Vegas?
All this is doing, Skip, is that they're going to be playing with a lot of new guys. For the most part, only AD, LeBron, Horton Tucker, and Dwight have ever played together. Well, there's a 12 to 15 man roster. So that means all the other guys have never played together. So let me find out where you want the ball. Where do you like the ball? This is where I want the ball. This is how I like to get set up. There are no guarantees in sports. The only thing you can do, Skip, is work your tail off, put yourself in the best situation to give yourself the best chance of winning. This gives them an excellent opportunity, but there are no guarantees in sports.
This is 3 days in Vegas. It's not like he's not taking him to Des Moines for a little pre-training camp.
What difference does it make where you go? You practice. Do you have a 10-foot rim? Are you in a gymnasium that's 94 feet?
I suspect there'll be more team bonding than practicing, more partying than practicing.
We don't do that. It's time to get
It's
time to get down to the nitty-gritty.
I think they'll be sipping some beverages.
Yeah.
I think they'll be smoking some fine cigars. to go.
Yeah,
Right?
but
Yes.
we gonna get that work in.
Okay.
We gonna get that work in.
I think this is the party, the team bonding party before the work begins. The real work begins in about 4 or 5 days,
Yeah.
right? When they go to real training camp.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, but they normally go to like Hawaii somewhere and train. This is Vegas, little old Vegas. Little old Vegas.
They'll take that town.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Does it?
Practice hard. That's all we do.
Okay.
Practice it.
I still can't figure out why LeBron, in his first year with the Lakers, did not go to Vegas.
See, I knew you were gonna do that. What
I wonder why. Because he was chasing Michael B. Jordan because he was more interested in Hollywood than he was in winning another championship. Am I right?
No, that's not. Well, Skip, why you
Well,
do
that's
that?
weird. He'd done it every place he'd been, in Cleveland, Miami. They'd always done this. And then he comes to L.A. and the first year he doesn't take his team on a bonding trip.
So he didn't take him. You took something from that. He did take him. You taking something from that. So how does he win? Besides winning another championship, and then you're gonna say, well, he had to take AD and Russell Westbrook and all that. You're gonna find a way to try to diminish it.
Well, I like this. I mean, this would indicate that he's serious about winning a championship.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. So every year Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, he took his receivers to throw.
I don't know that.
No, exactly. That's my
He would take Edelman and Amendola to Montana, right?
That was in the documentary when he did Tom versus Time.
Okay.
Now what happened before that?
All I
David
know is-
Patton, rest your soul, and Deion Brand and Troy Brown, were they going?
All I know is he's 7-3 in Super Bowls, and LeBron is 4-6
He got that.
in finals.
One guy got 4
Yeah.
MVPs.
Really?
Regular season MVP, which means you the best player.
Huh? Really?
13-time first team All NBA, which means you one of the best players.
6 out of 7 Super Bowls he won with game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime.
Can-
Unheard of,
can I ask you a question?
impossible beyond LeBron's
Okay, so does it-
wildest imagination.
It doesn't matter if you have a game-winning drive or you win by 50.
Yep.
You won.
You got my
Tom Brady
attention.
won. LeBron won. LeBron doesn't have 4 walk-off shots to win the series.
Please don't keep bringing up Tom Brady when we're talking about LeBron.
You brought it up. All I'm saying is that you keep trying to diminish the man. The man doing the right
You
thing.
brought it up. I
Play can
didn't.
be a combination of both, right?
Yeah.
Have fun, LeBron.
We're not done here. Were
Be
we
careful.
too quick to write off Ben Simmons in Philly? We'll tell you what Doc just said this morning. You don't want to miss it next. Hasn't been known for having the best jump shot, but that could be changing, guys. A social media video was posted of Westbrook draining three-pointers and working on his mid-range game ahead of his first season with LeBron and the Lakers. Skip, question for you. Will Russ's shooting improve this season?
You saw it.
Shannon Sharp.
You saw that.
Working on it.
I am sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings.
No, you're not.
But I actually laughed out loud when I saw this video last night.
Peace out, leaving home just to change my phone plan. Hello, switching from my sofa. Goodbye, everything you can. Hello, Google Fi, a phone plan that can.
At Tuner, we make life on the go easy. That's why we created Licky, the world's most compact folding trike. It fits in any car or...
I am not overstating this when I say that over his 13 seasons in the National Basketball Association, Russell Westbrook has proven to be the worst superstar jump shooter in the history of pro basketball. The worst. He is an abysmal, high-volume, three-point shooter. And as the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I will be the first to admit, I do like the new form in this video because it's a lower launch point. He's getting it down in here where he can get a little more control of it and get a little more power behind the shot. It's more of a shot-put shot, if you will. His usual release is much higher and wilder and harder to control and be consistent with. But just to nail this down for you, since Russell Westbrook entered this league, of the 246 players, that's a lot of players, 246 who have averaged at least 3 three-point shots per game, Russell is third worst over that 13-year span. Third worst behind Josh Jackson and Baron Davis, believe it or not. And yet Russell is viewed as a superstar, a perennial all-star, obviously, a man who in 4 of the last 5 years has averaged a triple-double, which is impossibly great. But when it comes to shooting, he is impossibly bad. And I will hand the ball off to you in just a moment. I conclude my case against Russ by saying, you realize that the shooting demons finally infiltrated his free throw shooting over the last 3 years, because for his first 10 years, he averaged 81% from the free throw line, which will work, as you know. One year in 2017, he hit a crescendo. He made 85% of his free throws in just 2017. I don't know what happened. The demons got a hold of his subconscious, not Ben Simmons-like, but we're heading in that direction to where over the last 3 years, 2 of them were 66%, including last year, and one, well, let's just do the average of the 3, so he's 69%. So he's 81% for his first 10 years from the free throw line, 69%, that's LeBron-esque, for the last 3 years. So he's even crumbling at the free throw line. And I believe all of that is unfixable, because when you get in the heat of battle, you will just revert to what you know, which is wild-eye three-point shooting.
Skip, it's hard for me to disagree with anything that you just said, but all I can ask the guy to do is to work on the things in the offseason that he feels he needs to improve upon to get better. Russ feels that he needs to hit shot. I think a lot of this has to do with shot selection. When you're coming down on the fast break, Skip, how about you not pull up with a 30-foot three? How about that?
It's hard to practice that. You have to learn that. You have to sort of convince yourself, I'm not going to do that.
Right. And so, Skip, if you get better technique, that's a lot of that has to do with, if you look at the way Klay Thompson, now, he's never going to be one of those shooters. We're not going to ask him to be, Skip. And he's not a very good three-point shooter. But can we get him to 35%? That's all. Skip, I'm just saying, we don't need you 42%, but we can't have you at 26% like you were in Houston. We can't have you at 29% or 30%. Can we just get you to 35? And I think a lot of that has to do with shot selection. I also believe playing alongside AD, playing alongside LeBron James will help him take better shots. He'll get better opportunities because they double down on LeBron. Now you get an opportunity to cut to the basket and lay the ball up. They double down AD. He's going to have to knock down some of these wide open shots, Skip. He's going to get a lot of opportunities.
He's going to get a whole bunch of because they will dare him.
Yes. And that's something that, hey, he's working on. Skip, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask. Is the guy working in the offseason? Some of the questions that we've asked about Ben Simmons, is he really working on that jump shot? Or is he just telling us he's working because come game, we don't never see him even attempt it? At least we know Russ is in the gym. He's working on it.
What has he done for the last 13 off seasons? Has he worked on it?
No, I believe, Skip, if he takes better shot selections, I believe that has a lot. Skip, you don't always, even if you're not pulling up with a three, Skip, trying to pull up a 3-on-1 fast break and you try to kiss the ball off the backboard, that's not a high percentage shot. If we just try to increase, get a little closer to the backboard, the jump shots are better. We can always hit a 30-foot three, Skip. But how about take a 15-foot shot? How about try to get all the way to the basket and maybe get fouled or dish it off? So I think a lot of that has to do with that. Better shot selection. And just it's like, you know what? Now is not the time for me to do that. But I love what I'm seeing. I love the guy that's in the gym, working on his craft, trying to get better, trying to improve. We're not trying to teach an old dog new trick. We're trying to teach an old dog to improve on the tricks he already knows.
Okay. So, this old dog has averaged 31% from the three-point line over 13 years, but he actually, maybe he worked the previous offseason, he was actually a tick better than 31. He was 32% in Washington last year. Guess where that ranked? That was 150th of 156 qualified three-point shooters. 150, 156. It's the bottom of the barrel.
We just try to get him at 35, 36%.
If you could, it would be gold as in Fort Knox gold, as in bubble championship gold.
It'd be the championship gold.
Yeah.
As in gold championship.
Okay. Here's why he will not work. He will not fit. This is why he will drive LeBron James' highest basketball IQ in the game out of his mind, out of his basketball mind. 4 times he has led the league in turnovers, and 4 other times he's been second in turnovers. That's 8 out of 13 years. So what makes him Russ? What makes him go? Why is he must-see TV for me? I don't miss a Russ game because he is like a roller coaster ride of he's going to get a triple-double. He's going to average double-digit rebounds at 6'3".
I don't believe he does that this year.
Okay, well, maybe not.
Hi.
I don't even know how he averages
Great to
10
meet
plus
you.
assists.
You got
He's
my
led the league in
attention.
assists. He led it last year in assists. They're weird assists
Watch
because
your
they're
back.
not
What
LeBron-esque.
can I
You
say?
say,
What's on
"Oh,
your
what a
mind?"
sweet pass that was."
Right.
He doesn't do that. He drives it like no one's ever driven.
When we started Carvana, they told us that selling cars 100% online wouldn't work. But we went to work, building an experience that lets you shop over 17,000 cars from home.
Hi everyone, welcome to In Deep Geek Live. Today we are carrying on with our series of videos, live streams, looking at the different regions of Westeros. Now we've worked our way through almost all of the continent, and we've now reached the Crown Lands. So this is a small area just around King's Landing and the islands just off of it, places like Dragonstone. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. As always, I'm framing this around questions that I've got from my patrons, and it's broadly going to be in 3 chunks of questions. The first set about Dragonstone, the second lot about King's Landing, and then I've got quite a few questions that I either didn't pick up previously or I on last week or a week or 2 ago I said I just wanted to go away. Things that came up in the chat, I just wanted to go away, have a think about something, and then give you a fuller reply later. So I've got a couple of those coming up as well. But welcome, welcome if this is your first time watching us live. Great to have you. Do drop whatever comments or questions you want into the chat. I'll try and pick up as many of them as I can going through. Quick thank yous just for some super chat, super stickers before we went on air. Ryan Larkin, thank you so much for the super sticker. The Lady Eternal, thank you. Mara Lee saying just a show of love and appreciation for the fabulous content, merch and stories. Hugs to Dan, the gorgeous dog. Again, upstairs again, far past his bedtime. And Jacro saying, do you think the Targaryen dragons would still be alive if they had kept them and the seat of power in Dragonstone? It seems to me it would have been easier and safer than confinement in King's Landing. So I think I'll start with that one. A really interesting question. Whether the Targaryen reign and rule, and particularly the dragons, would have been better served staying on Dragonstone. Now, at a sort of a meta level, I think we should probably say it's probably a good idea for the capital to be on the mainland. This allows people to be engaged in it from all parts of the Seven Kingdoms. Linked up really well by the road networks, and so King's Landing as a hub became the place that you could have the seat of Faith of the Seven, for example. That couldn't just happen. So it made sense for Aegon to start off by placing his capital there, actually on the mainland, not just on Dragonstone. It also kind of showed, and this was something that they were quite keen to do, the original Targaryens, it showed that they weren't just conquerors from overseas who were just going to do things their own way. They actually were wanting to embrace a degree of what was culturally the case in the Seven Kingdoms, by which I mean not that the Targaryens, those of Valyrian descent, would lower themselves to consider themselves to be of a level with the other people, but they had a sigil. As far as we know, the Valyrians didn't really deal with sigils. They created a sigil. They very much embraced the faith of the Seven, managed to get so the first crowning of Aegon I was down in Old Town, embracing the faith of the Seven. They were very keen to do this, and this was part of this was getting the new capital established. So it made sense to start. Would they have survived better long term? keeping their base on Dragonstone? Possibly is the short answer. I think they would have lost a huge amount of buy-in from people, but they would definitely have managed to have a place where dragons could thrive. They're trying to set up a place for the dragons in King's Landing was not a huge success. Now, I do have to just put a little asterisk by this. I am personally firmly of the conviction, I saw people were chatting about this live actually, but personally I am firmly of the conviction that this idea that locking dragons up in the dragon pit, that's what caused the death of the dragons, I think that is a lie made up by the Maesters. Like all the best lies, there's an element of truth there. Dragons do not thrive when they're kept in captivity, but all of the evidence that we have is that dragons may not thrive, but they still survive and they grow. Dany's dragons in the Pyramid at Meereen, they didn't thrive, but they did grow and they did stay alive. And we get Morning, who grew whilst being in the Dragon Morning, grew whilst being in the Dragon Pit. All the other dragons that were there, we didn't hear that they became sort of stunted in their growth in any way. It probably didn't help, but this is not what caused the death of the dragons. That is other things. That I personally believe. I did a video on this relatively recently. It was the Maesters who killed the dragons, but following the Dance of the Dragons, because most of the dragons died during the Dance of the Dragons, and then it was a matter of poisoning the dragon eggs. So that's my personal take. If you want a little bit more background on that, do please go and check out that video. I called it something like "Did the Maesters Kill All the Dragons?" So do go and check that out. But yeah, I think that was a really a fascinating question, Decro. Thank you very much for that. Anders Graham, thank you for the super chat, saying, what do you think Varys will do to make the small folk of King's Landing more ready and accepting of Aegon? I don't think it needs to be much, to be honest, because what will happen is that Cersei will do things to make herself unloved, and that is what is going to be the main driver for the love of Aegon. So if you have a ruler who is seen as being tyrannical in some way, clearly killing the small folk, and then you get somebody who is there who appears, as we've seen with Aegon, he does appear to be this embodiment of a perfect ruler. Whether he actually is or not is a completely different matter, but he does come across well. And that, I think, is what the issue is. It's not that Varys is going to be doing things secretly so much to make people love him. I think that he will start spreading the seeds of information that this is the Targaryen heir, come to bring the Golden Age back to King's Landing and all the rest of it. But it's the juxtaposition of Cersei against Aegon that will be the key point here. Sparkle Banner, thank you so much for the super chat, just saying, I love your channel. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Bryndon of House Stark, first of his name, thank you. Saying, you are my #1 Song of Ice and Fire YouTuber. Thank you, I really appreciate that. How would Tyrion react to Tywin to be executed if he was sentenced to death for the sack of King's Landing and the death of Elia, Rhaenys and Aegon? I say this, I assume this is way back in the day, because the point is that there is no moment in time in the story that we've been given where that has personally is looking a likely possibility, because Tywin did what he did at the time in order to gain the support of King Robert, and he succeeded in that. It was a brutal, horrible thing for him to do, but he succeeded in that, and from that moment on, the Lannisters had power in King's Landing. So there was at no point when Tywin would have been at threat of being held to account for those murders. Now, how would Tyrion have reacted theoretically to his father? I think this really depends on the part of the story. Tyrion, before the moment at which he kills his father, he realizes who he is and all the rest of it. Yes, he's not got a great relationship with his father, but he is very much part of Team Lannister. This is very clear. Rereading through Game of Thrones, Tyrion, yes, he's a great and interesting character, but he is still very much Team Lannister all the way through this, and so I think that he would have been sticking with the family right up until that point. After that, no. Obviously, his reaction would be completely different. Once he accepts inside himself who his father actually is, that's the moment at which he would happily killing his father. Prince of Quarkness, thank you, saying, hi Robert, watching while prepping an RPG session. Oh, excellent. What did the Valyrians use Dragonstone for pre-Doom? Seems a long way to come just to chill out. Yeah, so I'll link this one actually with a question from Robin Isama over on Patreon, saying, hi Robert, why did the Targaryens settle on Dragonstone, which is fairly barren, instead of somewhere around the Blackwater? Do you think there was something special, perhaps magical, that drew them there? And Howland's little sister also saying, I'll be sewing while watching the live stream. Excellent. I'm curious about a few facts regarding Dragonstone. As we're told about the Valyrians, westernmost outpost on the Isle, which would claim the name of Dragonstone. My question is one with little or no known facts. What would the Valyrians achieve by having a castle on this island? What made Aenar Targaryen decide to claim this castle as his before the Doom? There are no clear facts which provide answers, but I'd be extremely interested in your hypothesis. Okay, so let's do a little bit of background. The island that is Dragonstone is indeed rocky, relatively barren. It's a volcanic island. It's got all over it. There's just these sort of gaps where hot air, smelly steam comes out, sulphurous smoke comes out from underground. It's not a pleasant place. However, the Valyrians had been slowly spreading out westwards. The Valyrian freehold had been expanding out over Essos, and then where is next to go after that? Well, Westeros. They haven't invaded. There's no indications that they were thinking about invading Westeros. But what they were very keen on doing, and this comes down to another why Dragonstone, was to secure the shipping lines that go through the Narrow Sea, and particularly the ones that head into Westeros. Now, King's Landing wasn't there at the time, but Duskendale definitely was there, was a very important port. Now, Dragonstone is the largest island there in the mouth of what's effectively the estuary there. It is guarding that entire area. And so that, along with the fact that you've got House Celtigar and House Velaryon on the other islands in that area, means that the Valyrians suddenly had this stranglehold and control over the Narrow Sea and all the trade that goes through there. So that is why they set it up a base on Dragonstone. Why did the Targaryens choose to go there? Well, we talked about the Dreamer and the vision about the Dream of Valyria and all the rest of it. Where would they go? Well, as far away from it as they could. So they went westernmost away from where the Doom of Valyria was, somewhere that they could buy from the Valyrians, and they could just sort of set up home there. It's probably worth saying that although most people find it quite a dark, dull, and dreary place, dragons clearly like it. It's the volcanic activity seems to be a perfect place for dragons to be. So the Targaryens setting up shop there isn't, I think, a huge mystery. I think this is just the most sensible idea for them. They're going to move out from Valyria. Where are they going to go? There's this place that hasn't got a permanent owner, but is a long way from Valyria, and it's somewhere that the dragons could happily set up hope. So that is why we're at there. Prince of Qualtris, what did they use it for? It's an island fort. That's what it was. The Lady Eternal, picking this up from Nicola Jurican. I love it when people do this, picking up questions for others in the chat. Saying, is it possible that a maester suggested to Egg that he tried to hatch dragons at Summerhall? I mean, it's possible. We don't have huge amounts of information about Summerhall, so for those who don't know, the tragedy at Summerhall, this was where Aegon V, who was Egg from the Duncan Egg novellas, when he grew up, he became king, he became obsessed in his later life about hatching the dragon eggs. There were lots of dragon eggs that the Targaryens still had, and they weren't hatching, and he became obsessed with trying to hatch them, and then he got lots of knowledgeable people from all over the known world, and eventually decided to try doing something at Summerhall, which was effectively, it was the third of the Targaryens' main palaces after the Red Keep, Dragonstone. Summerhall was their third place. Might the Maesters have suggested it? I mean, my take is that
Off with you.
the Maesters, and the more you dig into this, the